Good morning, class. Can anybody tell me what today is?
President's Day.
Good job. But can anybody identify anything in this picture for me?
Trees and water.
More than trees and water. It's actually the National Mall of Washington, D.C. with the World War II Memorial. And we're going to talk about some presidents today. Can anybody come up here and point to George Washington for me? And just draw a circle around.
All right. George Washington.
All right, good job.
Wasn't he the first president?
He was the first president. And can anybody tell me who this is right here?
That's Bill.
Bill who?
Clinton.
Good job. He was president about a little bit before all y'all were born in the 90s. Next activity, I want to know what does it take to be a president, and I need somebody to come up here and write three things for me.
Have to be old.
Old.
Male.
Okay.
And born in America.
All right. Those are good guesses, and we're going to go over those later. Next, we have Mr. Collins coming in to talk a little bit more.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we're going to go over some little-known facts about President's Day, okay? We're going to highlight those up. Now, make sure to remember these because they could be on later quizzes today or in the future, all right? So, President Obama is the 44th president, but there have only been 43. Does anybody know how that could be?
I don't know.
Well, actually, Grover Cleveland was elected to 2 non-consecutive terms, okay? So that means he was counted as twice a president, but he's still only one person, okay? President Lincoln was the tallest president at 6 feet 4 inches tall.
Man, he was tall.
He was tall, and I mean, I'm 6 foot, okay? And you guys probably grow taller than me, but at the same time, he's this tall at 6'4", and our next one was President Madison at 5 feet 4 inches tall as the shortest, okay? So, big, tall Abraham Lincoln, little, tall President Madison, okay? And James Buchanan was the only president to never marry. That's an interesting fact, all right? Presidents Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy were assassinated in office. These are true and false, so what's everybody's best guess on this first one?
False. I don't know who Garfield is.
Well, we're actually going to go over that coming up pretty soon in some lessons we have. But the answer to this question is true. Okay? Now, President Washington never lived in Washington, D.C. True or false?
False.
That's a little tricky one, but it's actually true. Now, I know that the White House hasn't always been in Washington, D.C., but it is now, so I know it's a little confusing, but it's actually true. Okay? Now, Grover Cleveland was the only president to elect to 2 non-consecutive terms. We just discussed that. And Franklin Roosevelt served as president for how many terms?
2?
No, close.
3.
Well, even closer, it was actually 4, okay? So 4 terms. Now, does anybody know how many years?
6?
Well, add 6 more to that. What do you get?
12.
There you go. 12 years, okay? So that's how long he was in office for. Okay, now the next part of the presentation in class is going to be presented by Ms. Tyler. So,
Okay, did everyone know that President Jimmy Carter was the first president born in the hospital?
there weren't always hospitals?
No, not open to the public, and they weren't always around. President Andrew Jackson was the only president to serve in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812.
Ooh, that's cool.
Okay, I hope you guys were paying attention during the discussion today, because now we're going to take a quiz over the material. Who did we say was the first president of the United States?
George Washington.
Good job. And who was elected to 2 non-consecutive terms?
His name's Grover. I can't remember the other.
Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
You were halfway there. Good job. Okay, and who, we just talked about this, was in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812?
That was Jackson.
Well, Andrew Jackson. You're right.
Andrew Jackson. Good job. Okay, now we're going to see what it takes to be a president. We went over this earlier. Now we're going to see if you guys were right. Native-born U.S. citizen. You were right. You said born in America. Must be 35 years old.
Oh, I knew it was old.
It is old.
And must live in the U.S. for 14 years.
Wait, you don't have to be male to be president?
No, you do not have to be male to be president. Females can be president too.
Oh.
We covered this today. I hope you guys have a great week. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about upcoming elections.